Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And here I have an article for you guys from Yahoo Finance. I will leave a link to it in the description so you guys could check it out. So this video is going to be titled, Is Verizon in Trouble? And I'll be talking about that in this video, but also informing you guys as well that Verizon CFO is going to speak at the Morgan Stanley European Conference in 2 days, November 15th. So stay tuned for that video for those updates. But in this video, I wanted to talk about Verizon and why they are really in trouble now. And I want to elaborate more on what I've recently seen happening in my area. And of course, that's a very small sample size, very anecdotal. But I can go look at the numbers on a national scale. I can look at the quarterly numbers from each of the carriers. I have intel on the market share numbers, and I can see the trajectory of where that's heading. And I can make an informed, objective opinion about why Verizon is in trouble. So recently, I've seen AT&T and T-Mobile move into a predominantly stronghold of Verizon, which is the military base here locally. That has over the years been Verizon and Verizon only in terms of a usable, great performing network. Before, like early on in the LTE days, Verizon was really the only one with like 5-6 cell sites across the base. AT&T had nothing, T-Mobile had nothing. Sprint was the only other carrier that did build some of the stealth cell sites that you've seen in the recent videos that T-Mobile is now getting on. But again, Sprint had very low spectrum. They deployed band 25 on those, and they never got band 41 on those at all. Nothing. They never cared to upgrade those. So very low performance from Sprint. It wasn't a great performing network across the base. So over the years, it was really just Verizon. That's all it's been. And Verizon over the years on the base has accumulated a very high share across the base on the service members, the government contracts, the cellular devices for civilians, whatever. It's been 100% of the time, it's been Verizon. Now, I'm seeing activity where T-Mobile is moving in with the Sprint Keep site conversions. That will give T-Mobile an additional 4 cell sites. On Fort Bliss, there are surrounding smaller bases across New Mexico that are close by where T-Mobile will get 2 additional cell sites that they're converting from a Sprint conversion. And AT&T is now moving in with C-RAN. They're doing C-RAN. That's already in motion. Fiber's being laid. They're adding 2 additional cell sites. They already have 4 of them on the east side of Fort Bliss. So competition is closing in. Now, Verizon may still have the more and better quality network, but if you look at all of the quarterly numbers, as of recent, it hasn't mattered. Their churn is higher and they're losing customers. So that's where I can make an objective, informed decision that, yes, my sample size is anecdotal and it's small, but I look at the numbers and I can confidently say that this is happening across the nation. There's other military bases that AT&T and T-Mobile are moving in. You know, Fort Hood, Fort Seal, Fort Liberty, Fort Jackson. There's a lot. And T-Mobile is gaining traction on these bases and AT&T as well. So that's no longer a stronghold of Verizon's. It used to be, but not anymore. And AT&T with FirstNet, right, it's the government's network. Eventually, the government is probably going to tell all of its branches and all of the other government agencies that, they have to choose FirstNet in the future. That's eventually going to come. And then Verizon will lose those too. So Verizon has to really watch it, and they have to consider moving differently. Because even with all their network talk, premium this, better quality that, per JD Power, per root metrics, none of it is working. Their churn is up, customers are leaving, and I'm still seeing that on the nationwide scale per the market share numbers. They're still losing. So none of that is shifting just yet. I do anticipate some of that to shift in Q4 And I'll keep you guys up to date, especially the members. You guys get an exclusive look. So if you want to join, a link to that will be in the description. So that's what I wanted to discuss in this video, right? We'll get updates at this conference, but it'll be more of the same, right? It's going to be about, we're going to get to this free cash flow. Our CapEx is coming down. We feel confident. That's the type of convo that, they'll probably have at this Morgan Stanley conference. But the reality is completely different versus what Verizon is talking about at these internal town halls, at these quarterly earnings Q&As. The reality is different. AT&T and T-Mobile are competing fiercely, and not just with pricing or promos. No, they're now competing with network, and still it might not be up to par in terms of networking, but they work. For the most average consumer, both AT&T and T-Mobile are good enough. They don't need that extra better quality of a network, and the numbers show it. And that's why I can objectively give an opinion on that, because looking at all of the quarterly numbers. Now, if Verizon's churn was down, it was flat quarter over quarter, they grew 2 to 300,000, then I would say it's still working. What they're doing is still working. There's no disputing that, but they are simply not growing the company. On the business side, now with them, with both T-Mobile and AT&T moving into the military bases with networking, growing the network into rural areas, how much longer can Verizon keep up the growth on business? That's a question you have to ask. It's a serious question. AT&T and T-Mobile are going to fiercely compete there too. And I have a feeling, now that I'm seeing already these Sprint KeepSite conversions, they're going to go heavy after some of these government contracts. There's so many of them across the base that are separately contracted out to different companies, and they use, government devices, cell phones, tablets, whatever, to do their operations and handle that. I can see AT&T and T-Mobile taking that from Verizon too. So Verizon has to move differently. And it has to start now, because they can't keep digging themselves into a deeper hole. And I mean that with the purest sincerity. I'm not just saying this and pulling this out of a hat. The numbers are right there. You can go on Verizon's investor relations and you can see it. And also, when I speak on that, I'm also speaking on it from a future outlook. I'm not saying all of this is going to happen in Q4. This is going to take time, right? T-Mobile has to build these sites. Then they have to transition these sites to be turned on. They have to optimize. So this could take several more months before this is even a reality. They're being constructed now. You guys saw the pictures. But now already is when you start the conversations, right? If you're T-Mobile for government, if you're a part of that team, you're already in these meetings with the generals, and you're discussing, okay, I'll have this network up and running by this time. Can we get something going here? And bidding for these companies, for these government contracts, it happens months ahead of time. So you engage now because you already know when you'll have these sites on air and when they'll be ready to go and optimized. So Verizon has to change. The leadership needs change. What they're doing is not working. And what they're telling the public and the investors and the analysts is not reality. They are continuing to lose share. There is no momentum. The only thing that they're accurate on is the free cash flow. They're still making, they're still doing a raise and beat on the free cash flow. But eventually, with time, common sense will tell you that's going to lower too. They can't keep letting people go to cable. You can't grow your company through an MVNO. It don't work like that. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Like, share, subscribe, follow the social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.